You are listening to Right Off the Bus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Right Off the Bus. I'm Chandler Hudson. That's Pat Mahoney. And on this Thursday, September 16th, Pat, it's episode 38. Who we got this week for episode 38?
I know it's such an obscure number, but I honestly had to do the research for this one. At this point, we're so far in. Like I said last week, we just started this number thing way too late, but we're on Kurt Schilling with the Red Sox. For anyone watching, I got my Sox golf jacket thing on, but yeah, it's the Kurt Schilling episode, even though there will be no other mention of Kurt Schilling or the Red Sox in this episode.
Man, it is tough. We started this number thing too late. 39. We're gonna be pressed to find a 39.
I have no idea.
40. We're gonna figure it out.
I forgot Kurt Schilling was number 38, so I'll hopefully be pleasantly surprised at number 39.
Oh, it is funny, man. But Pat, what you got going on this week, man? You're killing it going all to these shows, man. It makes me feel like I'm not doing enough, man.
I know it's weird because I'm going to the TD Garden, but not to see, like a Celtics game, which I didn't get to do. I want to go next year. I will hopefully get to see the Celtics at the TD Garden, hopefully on a championship run. Doubtful with the teams that have been put together around the league, but I'm going to the TD Garden in November. It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving to see Sebastian Maniscalco. So me, my brother, and our girlfriends are going, although his now fiance, but we're going to the TD Garden. We're going to see Sebastian Maniscalco. So if anyone doesn't know who he is, he's just a comedian, but he's a big time comedian, big Italian guy, but he's really good. So I discovered him like early college. So we're excited to go to that. But
man, just from the name, that dude's funny. I don't know who he is, but from the name,
it's just
this dude's funny.
I know it's funny because my Italian friends like think he's hysterical, and I'm like, oh, I do too, but I kind of feel like I'm missing part of the joke. Just because I didn't grow up in an Italian like tight knit family, which
right.
A lot of jokes end up being about that, but I can still relate.
Oh, absolutely, man. One of four boys, man. You know how it is being a big family, man.
But I do want to hear about your triathlon, Chandler, because I know you're coming off of that. As you said last week, you would give us some highlights.
Yeah, man, it was fun. It was fun. First triathlon. I'm not going to act like I did crazy well. I mean, there were several events going on, sprint, Olympic, relays. So I was doing the sprint triathlon. There were 354 competitors in that race. I placed 305. Which isn't impressive, but my goal was to do it in under an hour 45. I did an hour 43.
There you go.
I was feeling good, man. The swim tore me apart. It was so hard. I felt better after the end of the triathlon than I did after the end of the quarter mile swim. Like add 10 miles on the bike and a 3.5 mile run. I feel better than I did after the swim, but
more manageable.
Man, it was fun though. I mean, I didn't understand like the transition area enough. Like you got to wear something that you can swim, run, and bike in. Like the transitions took me way too long, but dude, it was fun. Good experience. Really humbling when you see a 69-year-old woman fly past you on the bike. Like
Who's just been doing it probably your whole life, dude, or at least their whole adult life.
There were 2 male finishers and 2 female finishers over the age of 70 in this thing, like, which just absolutely blows my mind. I was one of the like 15 or 20 youngest people to compete. So, dude, I'm on the bike and I just see 54 fly by me, 62. We had to have the number, our age written on the back of our legs. So, dude, you're on the bike and you just see people and I'm like, there's no way this person's about to fly by me. But I flew past
47, 56.
Right? I flew by enough people on the run to make up for it. I got some spots back.
And you're always in good shape, but an event like that takes like serious dedication and training if you're actually looking to finish, at least top half. But I mean, I would be proud of what you did, no doubt, especially the swim. Yeah,
man, I appreciate it. I'm definitely proud of it, but next year I'll be more prepared. I'll understand a little more. And like you said, I was not training for this in the right ways at all. So I'll be a little prepared next year. I figure I can cut at least 15, 20 minutes off that time. Because
if you beat the hour 43, beat it by whatever you set a goal for yourself, you'll be good.
Yeah, we'll go hour 20, hour 25. We'll be nice with it, man. But hey, that was a lot of fun. I'll probably do a post or, make a little video out of it, man. What's nice is the water was so warm. It was 14 degrees warmer than the air was. So it felt like you were diving into a bath, man. But Dude, a lot of fun, man. Definitely gonna do it again. I already have some people committed to sign up for it next year, dude. It's a good time. And now I gotta shift my gear. I got a half marathon coming up in a couple weeks. So that's the new focus.
That should be a cakewalk for you after that. That should be no problem.
Yeah, honestly, as long as I get like a good 10-mile run in beforehand the next couple weeks, something like that, I'll be feeling good. What's 13 if you can do 9 or 10? It's not too bad.
Just buckle down for that last 4. You get in that zone.
Got to start listening to some of those running books again. Hear about those people doing the 200-mile runs, and I'll be set. I'll be
you got to revisit Dean Karnassus for a little bit.
Absolutely, still got to get Dean on here, man. That's a story for another day, man. Pat, we got to dive into this episode. It's going to be a lot of football as always, but we're going to start with some headlines, man. We had another Triller boxing event, man. These things just seem like they're happening every other weekend. I can't keep track of them.
They're getting more sad to me too. And none felt sadder than this one, just because the way the main event went down. Like, it was supposed to be Vitor Belfort versus Oscar De La Hoya.
Yes.
And Oscar, granted, like, I know, the rumors about him, probably not rumors, but at least what Dana White thinks, he's drugged up, and he's definitely, I think he's 50. So he's he's an older guy, but he actually looked in good shape, and then he got COVID. So then on like a week's notice, somehow they got Evander Holyfield. I don't know how they wrangled Evander Holyfield,
right?
Who granted was in great shape for 58 years old, but I think there's a difference, and I'm not a boxer, but I think there's a difference between being, in shape and being in boxing shape, because that's also the mental state too. I mean, the guy's 58. He was taking head trauma for the majority of his adult life in boxing. He's one of the greatest boxers of all time. But then you bring him in here to fight, I think mid 40s, Vitor Belfort, who he used to do steroids. I don't think they drug tested for this, but I don't know if he was on it or not. But I mean, it's getting more sad. We saw Evander Holyfield get TKO'd within the first round, which everyone expected. He threw like a left hook and fell over because he like lost balance, which I think just sums up the whole reason that these guys probably shouldn't be boxing beyond 50. I'm sure Oscar De La Hoya, we'll still see him come out again. Maybe they'll remake that fight. I'm curious to see how Oscar does, but there's been concerns about Evander Holyfield, and like they wanted him to fight Tyson. Like that was going to be the next Tyson fight rather than Roy Jones. And I have no desire to see that.
Yeah, bad idea.
At the end of the day, it's Evander's choice, and he was fine getting in there. And he actually said it was an early stoppage. I was like, Evander, like nobody needed to see any more of that. But that was the main event. And then I don't know if you saw, just in the co-main was Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz, which Tito Ortiz was never known for his boxing anyways. He was always just a grappling guy. So Anderson Silva knocked him out cold. And I forget how long it took. It was in the first round, but knocked Tito Ortiz out cold.
Light work for Anderson, man. I mean,
it was light work.
This man was the GOAT of the UFC for a very long time before, in my opinion, John Jones came around. It was Anderson Silva. He was the first guy to bring in so many different disciplines. And to see how he's excelling at boxing, like you said, Tito Ortiz isn't the matchup that we need to see Anderson Silva against. But of course, as anything in the sports fighting world comes back to, man, like Anderson's the guy for Jake Paul, man. I feel like even though he's in his 40s, he looks so comfortable. His head movement was great, man. He talked about how he appreciates the art of boxing more than ever before, like having actually done it and trained in it now. And man, like you look at a guy what is Anderson Silva, man? He's got to be 6 feet, 185, 6'1", 185, something like that, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like
probably around there.
I feel like this would be, dude, we keep saying it. This seems like the MMA guy that would take down Jake Paul. Like this seems like the guy that could do it. And I don't know if he would want to, though. Yes, it would be the big payday, but like Anderson's so reserved. Like he doesn't talk all the crap like all these other guys. Like I don't know if he would do the pre-fight trash talk that Askren did, that Tyron Woodley did. Like I don't know if the hype would be built up for that fight.
I think Anderson would do it. Yeah, I don't know about the hype. Like you're right. It's one that would be built just on the names alone. Like Anderson's not going to do the trash talking. He it's funny because he does the showboating when he gets in the ring. At least he used to when in the octagon. But it does make sense to do that fight next. But that's a tough fight for Jake Paul. Like the way we've seen Anderson box. Like he's looked really good in the fights he's had. I mean, he beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who was, he had a great boxing career in his own right. So for Silva at his age to come out and do that, I mean, we've seen great boxing skills out of him. And you're right. Yeah, Silva is a similar size to Jake Paul. I think it would be a fair matchup. I would like to see that, but they'll probably do. I would imagine Jake will fight Tommy Fury next. I keep hearing about Tyron Woodley trying to get the rematch and the whole tattoo ordeal, but there's no way Tyron was ever getting tattooed. There's no way. And I doubt Jake would have gotten tattooed either. And I don't see that rematch happening, but that would be cool. I think it would do numbers. The Anderson Silva Jake Paul fight. You're right. It wouldn't be based on trash talk. And I think Jake actually said he has a lot of respect for Silva, so I don't even know that he would trash him.
Well, I'm sure that we will keep all the listeners updated on any Jake Paul fighting shenanigans, because whether you like it or not, this kid's the biggest name in fight sports right now, man. And he's going to keep being part of these headlines. Guarantee that. Now,
it's big news.
Moving on to some football on these headlines, man. The Ravens signed Latavius Murray and Devonta Freeman after signing Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Gus Edwards tears up his knee. Marcus Peters tears up his knee on the next play in practice. The Ravens just can't catch any luck with this injury stuff, man. Mm-hmm. 3 running backs out for the year. But now you have Le'Veon Bell, Latavius Murray, Devonta Freeman, and who's the other kid? Jason Williams or something?
Tyson Williams, yeah. And I believe we just got rid of Cannon too. So we had the other guy, Cannon, who was another running back. But now, I mean, you saw it when they played. They used Latavius Murray. I don't know why they went away from Tyson Williams, because he was having a great game.
Yeah.
He was tearing it up, and then they went away from him. I don't know why, because they were in a position to just manage the game, run the ball, maybe run some screen passes, but they ended up not doing that as much. And Latavius Murray got some touches. He actually got a touchdown, so that was good to see. I don't know when we're going to see Devonta Freeman. I don't know. Now that we have Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell, and Williams has been doing good, Freeman's kind of like, at least in my mind, he's the back end. Like, he's the 4th option out of those 4. So I would like to see Latavius and Tyson Williams split, the bulk of the carries. And if Le'Veon shows that he can still be a dynamic back, then I would like to see him mixed in too.
Yeah, man, even though you lost J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, it is still a phenomenal rushing attack, and they're going to have some workhorses rotating in and out. So it'll be an interesting situation to keep an eye on in that backfield. Now, moving on to a little basketball, John Wall and the Rockets have agreed to work together to find a new place for him to play, man. So he's not suiting up for the Rockets this year. He maybe has the most untradeable contract in basketball, but we said that about Russell Westbrook, but we said that about Chris Paul, and these deals can happen. I just don't know a destination for John Wall. Who's giving up $45 million of cap space to have an old injured guard that was, his entire game was predicated on his athleticism, and now he can't stay healthy, man? I mean, what's going on with John Wall? Who's going to take on that contract?
The only thing I saw that made sense, I actually saw it today. So maybe it's good that we're releasing the podcast a day later, because it gave me this thought. But perhaps the Sixers, if they move on from Ben Simmons, maybe sub in John Wall. I think John Wall would be a decent fit there. I don't know what would happen to Ben Simmons, but I saw that and I was like, that's a decent possibility. It was a tweet like John Wall showing up to the Sixers facility, and he's showing up really trying to get on the team. But I could see that happening.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Beyond that, I don't know.
And Simmons' value has dropped so much. That's the thing.
Yeah, so they kind of match up then, right? Because both their values are at almost like an all-time low, but they have really bad contracts for the sake of their talent.
That's not bad, man. I honestly can't even think of another destination, but we'll definitely keep everyone updated on that John Wall situation as well. But Pat, sticking in the NBA is considering an in-season tournament. It seems like it's getting towards that process of being passed, and it may be a legit thing for the next season. And the prize would be about $1 million per player on the winning team. Now, do you like this idea of having a domestic cup, let's call it, like there is in soccer, man? This is just in interleague tournament where it's 1-game elimination?
And I
You
think
be into this?
when it was first proposed, we had mentioned this on an earlier podcast, but I could be contradicting myself. I can't remember what I said in that episode, but I wouldn't mind it just because I mean we're soccer fans, so we're used to like the domestic cup things and that there's interplay, because this wouldn't affect the regular season. I remember they were saying they would have to take a few games off of the 82 game schedule, but they did it last season for COVID and it worked out fine. I think if they were to do that and then add the domestic cup, yeah, I would have no problem with that. Just an extra incentive. I think my gripe was like, I know it's $1 million, but I don't know if the top tier players, they might want to rest them for the regular season. Like it's like when you go to, I remember back in the day when people would go to a Spurs game and Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili would all be resting. It kind of makes me think of that. That would be maybe the one problem you'd have, is where the stars might sit out. Those guys who have big contracts and like, I don't need $1 million. And even the coach agrees.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, you think in soccer, you rest your players during the League Cup, you rest them during the Emirates Cup, whatever. So, it would make sense to rest people. I like the idea. I would just be worried about how this affects legacy. Like, how much value do we put on this in-season tournament? This is not an NBA championship. This is not an MVP. This is not an all NBA team. Like, how do we categorize its in-season championship as an accolade, as an award? And that's as a sports fan that like loves debating the history of the game. Like, how would it fit in the big picture would be my big question. But I like the idea. I'm not opposed to it by any means.
Yeah, because when you compare it to like the FA Cup in England, that's a big deal if you win the FA Cup. Granted, it does run a lot longer than I think this in-season tournament would. I guess, the tournament has to start somewhere. They would kind of just be testing the waters. So I wouldn't mind them trying it out and see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. We'll keep an eye on that. And Pat, before we get on to the football, I just want to ask, man, how we doing fantasy this week? I know you got 3 teams over there, so I don't know how it went.
In our league, for the purposes of our, my league with you, I did not do well. Garrett gave me a good just one of our friends in our league. Garrett gave me, a good walloping. I did not do well, but in my other league, I scored normal format, 198 points. I think my lowest score was my kicker, Tyler Bass, with like 11 points. But then above that, everyone else had at least 15 up. And then, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, Lamar, Kamara, Joe Mixon. So the team's looking good at least through week 1, but that tends to be the case. And then I go from like 3-0 to like 3-3. So it's all going to depend. But how did you do?
Week 1's always a crapshoot, man. You never know what's going to happen. But
it is.
My team didn't perform exceptionally well. They were fine. Definitely needed to make some adjustments. But luckily, Shane's team put up some goose eggs. So
Shane not looking for the title defense.
Gets 1.4 points from Aaron Rodgers and 0 points from Mike Gesicki. So, and -3 from his defense. So quarterback, tight end, and defense, he got -1.7. So I was not mad about the matchup this week.
That just will not get it done ever. That won't get it done. That's bad.
Easy 40-point win, man.
Rodgers was the shock of the week. I mean, I'm sure for everyone who owns him, and not even just outside of fantasy. I mean, we'll talk about that matchup, but that was insane to me.
After Rodgers came back, I didn't think we'd be seeing Jordan Love get any snaps in week 1, but
I definitely did not think that. I did not think Jordan Love would be getting snaps.
But we'll definitely get into that, man. Before we get into week 2 of football, we'll just recap some of what happened this week, Pat. And man, Bucks and Cowboys opened the season. What a game to open the season.
It was a great game.
Talk about it a little bit, Pat, man. What'd you see there? What are your impressions?
It was
from
good.
That game?
See, I thought, I don't know. Dak looked really good. I guess was my biggest takeaway, is that regardless of any injury talk, and I've been skeptical on this podcast, Dak looked way better than I thought he would. Zeke did not. I mean, Pollard outscored Zeke in fantasy. He had more impact, but it was just a pass heavy offense. And I think part of that was because it was kind of a shootout with the Bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bucks have the offensive firepower. You got to kind of keep up with them. It's hard to play, smash mouth football and run the ball with Zeke and give him 25 touches. So they were really utilizing Amari Cooper, CD Lamb. And that was a couple of my biggest takeaways were how good Dak looked and how good the Cowboys receivers looked. So even though the Cowboys lost, I didn't expect that at all. I expected the Bucs to win by at least a touchdown. So for them to go in and lose by, I think, 2 points, then it was on a field goal. So
Right.
I was impressed with the Cowboys. That was my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, and I mean, thank you to the NFL for giving us that as the opening Thursday night game. I mean,
Yeah, it was
shootout,
great.
lot of passing, man. Questionable calls like the Chris Godwin push off, man. We got the game ending literally in the last couple seconds. And I would say the same thing. I meant to start Dak in fantasy and I forgot to do it before the deadline. He had a phenomenal game. Dak looked great. He's going to really benefit from all those receivers, man. They looked really good. But on the other side, man, I think that you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and it reminds me of Peyton Manning's his second to last year with the Broncos, where he threw 55 touchdowns and Eric Decker, Wes Welker, Demaryius Thomas, and Julius Thomas all had 10. Mike Evans was a non-factor because Gronk had 2 touchdowns and Antonio Brown had 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Gronk and AB looked like the best tight end in the league and the best receiver. Remember, AB was the best receiver in the league 3 years ago. And I'm like, man, is Mike Evans an afterthought? It's OJ Howard. It's scary.
It's got to be good news for Bucs fans that the 2 biggest weapons on opening night were Gronk and AB, because obviously Godwin had a good game, but Godwin and Mike Evans were the afterthought. And Leonard Fournette. I mean, Leonard Fournette had that, tipped where you should have caught it, but he's not known for catching passes, but he got Brady a pick. That was like, they were afterthoughts. It was crazy to me that Gronk had 2 touchdowns, and it was nice to see AB bounce back too.
It just felt like Brady's going to have all the weapons he needs again this year, and it's going to be
he's got everything.
And, man, I mean, you expect the Bucs to win, but it'll be interesting to keep an eye on them because they are looking good. They are looking scary, man, and well, we'll move on. We'll move on to those Patriots now. I mean, you put on here Mac Jones impression.
I wanted to get your impression because I was impressed. I was impressed. Regardless of the loss, I was impressed with Mac Jones.
I agree with some of the NFL analysts on Monday morning. Mac Jones was the best rookie quarterback this week from everyone that played. And
100%.
I mean, the obvious headlines are the fumbles from Damian Harris early in the game, late in the game. Well, Mac Jones is bringing you on a game-winning drive. You fumble on the 7-yard line, which would have put you up. They go down the field. Game's over, man. So obviously that's the big headline. But Mac had a really good game. I mean, he's not a game winner yet. He's a game manager. But I think with all the pieces that are there, and if you don't get penalized on all those big chunk plays, man. It felt like every big play that we had that was 25, 30 yards, whether it was Jonnu Smith, whether it was Damian Harris, like it felt like all those plays were penalized, man. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's just a really solid debut against a really solid team. Brian Flores has done an amazing job with this Dolphins team. They won 9 games last year, didn't they? I mean, they're a good team. You picked them to win in this game. You picked them to come in second in this division. That can absolutely happen, man. But I'll say, I mean, Mac was the best rookie quarterback, and I thought for a debut, I wasn't mad. I was not mad. I was very satisfied watching Mac Jones play this week. I really was.
Yeah, and like you said, he's a good game manager, at least from what we saw. And I think for the Patriots, if they have a good game manager, like they don't need an explosive talent at quarterback. They don't need an Aaron Rodgers that's slinging the ball. If they have like an Alex Smith type quarterback, which I think Mac Jones could be similar, then I think that's all they need. And with Belichick's coaching, I think that's a recipe for success.
Yeah. And my thought with that too, is that he's a game manager right now. He can get to that point.
Yeah.
You can improve. Like
it was his first game.
Right, you're right.
Yeah. He has the potential to be more than just a game manager, but if that's, the basis, that's excellent.
Feel good about Mac Jones as a Patriots fan after week 1. That's that big takeaway. That's for sure. Now, another rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, man, those Jets lose to the Carolina Panthers. So you picked that game right, man. But Zach Wilson impressions to start here, Pat?
I will say, so the Jets obviously did not look good for most of the game, but towards the end, he did get a couple touchdowns. He did have the pick, but he got a couple touchdowns. I think he threw for just over 250 yards. He looked better than I thought he would. And considering the team around him, the Jets defense actually looked pretty good. I will say that. But for Zach Wilson, he was the second best rookie quarterback. I don't even know beyond that who else started. Fields got Trevor Lawrence, but Justin Fields got like two snaps. Trey Lance obviously didn't play. But Zach Wilson looked better than I thought. I think there is potential there. He has Corey Davis. He has Braxton Berrios. Those are two good targets for him. Jamison Crowder's hurt. I don't know, or either hurt or he was on the COVID list. I know he was out. COVID. Yeah. Okay. So COVID list, he'll be back. So he's got decent weapons there. Jamison Crowder. I blanked on
Corey Davis.
Corey
Elijah
Davis.
Moore,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Braxton Berrios. So decent look for the Jets, but I was impressed with Zach Wilson too, at least towards the end.
Yeah, it's one of those like Josh Allen situations where it's like, hey, not a lot of expectations from this kid. He's a raw talent, big arm, didn't play the best competition in college. Josh Allen, Wyoming, Zach Wilson, BYU. So it's like, give them some time to develop. They're not going to win too many games this year, but if Zach Wilson has that steady improvement, man, it can throw 250 yards and 2 touchdowns a game. It's an upgrade from Sam Darnold and what they were doing in New York. And, Jets may have their quarterback, man. You never know. It didn't happen with Sanchez. It didn't happen with Darnold. It didn't happen with all these other guys. So maybe they found their quarterback. I haven't bought into all the Zach Wilson hype yet, but he looked okay. He looked like he was a rookie quarterback,
Yeah. Not as good as Mac Jones. And hopefully on the other side, Darnold found a new home with Carolina.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad.
He didn't look bad, man. Now your Ravens, Pat, what happened against these Raiders? What a Monday night game. This was an awesome game.
This was a bad loss, Chandler. It was there's nothing else to really say in terms, like, it was a bad loss. I will say I bet on this game too. So I took the Ravens over. It was over 4. So the over 44.5 for the game. And then the Ravens +3. And it was a bad beat. So we were up 2 touchdowns, which I'm pumped. I'm like, here we go. Tyson Williams, we got Latavius Murray too. We can manage the game. Our right tackle, Villanueva, offered no protection to Lamar. He's got to get so much better. Max Crosby ate him alive all night. Max Crosby looked like a world beater on the Raiders.
He's fast.
Oh, he's he's a very good player, but I think we made him look better than he should have. He played really well.
Yep.
And credit to the Raiders. They played really well, but it was a bad loss. I mean, never mind. Like, we had the lead, and then I think we gave the ball to the Raiders under a minute, no timeouts. They drive the field, kick the 55-yarder to go to OT. And from there, I kind of knew. I was like, this doesn't look like it's trending well. And granted, the Raiders gave us the ball back. They threw a pick in the end zone in OT. Ravens get the ball back, and I'm feeling good again. I stayed up till like midnight for this game.
It was late.
Yeah, it went to OT, and I was like, oh, damn. I was like, I got to get up for work in the morning. And and they throw the pick in the end zone. Ravens get the ball back. I'm feeling good. And, wouldn't you know, we turn the ball over as well. And Raiders come back. Don't just kick a field goal to win. Apparently there was a whole thing where they couldn't find the kicker. They couldn't find him. Like, he was warming up at the tent or something. And so they had the kicking unit out, took a delay a game, ended up running a play and throwing a touchdown. So they beat us on the touchdown to ruin my bet, but also put a dagger in our hearts, because that is not a good loss to open the season. Granted, we were coverage
too on that Zay Jones route, man. He was wide open.
We were on the road in Vegas. It was a tough environment to play in prime time too. It's a game we should have won. I will say it was a tough environment to play in, but that was just a bad loss the way we lost. I would have been fine, if we went in, lost in regular time by like a touchdown. I would say, there's some things to work with, but the way we lost was just heartbreaking. Not a good way to go in. I believe playing Kansas City next week. So there's potential to start the season 0-2, which in the AFC North, such a competitive division, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, man. And I'm thinking hosting Kansas City next week, that is tough. And like you said, the division's very competitive. We'll talk about that Steelers win as well, but Steelers look better than we thought that they would. And man, I will just say on the Raiders real quick, I thought it was really interesting. John Gruden saying Darren Waller is the best player I have ever coached. Darren Waller is fantastic. He's legit, but he's kind of that consensus number 3 or 4 tight end in the league. But he had something like 17 targets. Apparently, Derek Carr went to him throw after throw after throw. And that just has to put the ultimate confidence in you as a player. So I hope that Waller's in for another career season. Steady improvement, man. This guy is quite the story, but I love Gruden showing that shine and giving that love to him. And you love Derek Carr talking about how Zay Jones outworks everybody in practice. And that's all he has to say after, that game winning play, man. So, I'm not going to put too much stock into the Raiders, but the Raiders looked okay. They shouldn't have won the game. I know it's your Ravens, but the Raiders looked okay. And Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Crosby, some of these guys looked really good for the Raiders. John Gruden has them looking okay.
Yeah, definitely. Josh Jacobs a little banged up, but they do have Kenyon Drake too. So not a bad second option in Kenyon Drake. And I will say Darren Waller could, just based on volume alone and the amount that he's used in Las Vegas, he could emerge as the next tight end behind Kelsey. Because I don't know, it's going to depend what we see from George Kittle and Mark Andrews, but I could easily see Darren Waller being right behind Kelsey as the number 2 in the league.
The tight end position, better hope Rob Gronkowski's not back, man. Because after that first week, he was the best tight end of the league for 8-9 straight years.
Tight end feels the deepest it has in a long time, at least in my opinion. It really feels that way. There's so many good tight ends now.
There is, man. And so many good quarterbacks too. But somehow, Pat, the Saints with famous Jameis Winston, man, they go and they beat the Packers with Aaron Rodgers on his one last dance, 38-3, dude. Shock of the week, man. I couldn't believe it. Jameis Winston 5 touchdowns. What?
We love that. We love to see it. They were on the road too, in what should have been a home game, as we mentioned. They played Jacksonville.
Yeah,
in Jacksonville, and they beat the Packers 38-3. Unbelievable.
Aaron Rodgers just did not show up, man. And I got to tell you, I love what Drew Brees said commentating about this game. He said, wow, I guess what this team was just missing last year was that deep ball from Jameis, because Jameis looked unbelievable. Jameis at this point may be the NFL MVP after week 1. Like he had a better game than anyone. He was unbelievable.
Yeah. And he didn't have that many passing yards, but 5 touchdowns will certainly get it done. No one's complaining. No picks either.
The Saints may have more stock in this NFL season than we were giving them credit for. And I don't think that's an overreaction after week 1.
Yeah. The Packers, I don't know if it was just them looking really bad, the Saints looking really good, or a combination of both, but without Mike Thomas too. He threw 5 touchdowns. They don't have Mike Thomas, and they beat the Packers 38-3.
It is nuts. That'll be one to keep an eye on without a doubt, man. And another new quarterback in a new spot, man. Matt Stafford and the Rams, they just absolutely dominate the Bears, man. The game never really felt close. And man, I got to tell you, Andy Dalton looked horrible. But I do feel bad for him, because when you're watching a game and the entire time they're showing highlights of Justin Fields, and Chris Collinsworth is sitting there talking about Justin Fields for like half the broadcast, man, you got to feel for the guy, but there's just no reason to be starting Andy Dalton in Chicago. It's not going to work, Matt Nagy. Save your job and start your rookie quarterback.
Yeah. And I saw this and I did kind of agree with it. It feels like when the Ravens started Joe Flacco after drafting Lamar, and then, however many games in, Lamar took over. And he ended up taking the job, and that was it from there. It kind of feels like that situation, but it could even happen sooner, where Justin Fields might come in and be the starter sooner than we expected.
It should be week 2 as far as I'm concerned after watching.
As far as I'm concerned too, honestly. I feel bad for Dalton, because I do like Andy Dalton, but you got to give the young guy a chance.
If you want to be a perennial 7-9 or 8-8 team, give Andy Dalton all the starts you want, man. But if you want a guy that can come in and change your franchise, people forget he set Big Ten records left and right at Ohio State. He was the number 2 quarterback recruit in his class behind Trevor Lawrence. Like, everything's there for Justin Fields. You trade up and trade your future to take this kid, and you're not going to play him. Man, it is tough to watch. I need to see Justin Fields on the field. But the quarterback on the other side of the ball, Pat, I got to tell you, man, I had not been buying into the Matt Stafford to the Rams hype. I thought they overpaid to get him. Looking pretty damn good, man.
I told you last week, Stafford's been a underrated quarterback his entire career, and now that he's on a team that's actually good, I'm so excited for him. Him and Sean McVay get along. I think Stafford gets along with the whole team, so he's got good options out there. I'm excited for the Rams. I like rooting for Stafford, so I'm excited for him.
I heard that like him, McVay, and Cooper Cup get breakfast and they'll just study the
I don't
playbook
doubt
for
it.
2 hours, man.
Yep.
And it's like, man, they want to be there. And everyone's been saying that this is a legit Super Bowl contender. I need another week or two against a better team, but man, they looked pretty darn good. And I can see myself buying into that Stafford hype. I think
Yeah.
I'm turning the corner there.
And as a side note, I will give Goff credit in Detroit because they were
Yeah.
getting their ass kicked and they came almost all the way back and they almost beat the 49ers in the long run, which would have been absolutely miraculous because they were down, I think, 3 touchdowns going into like the fourth quarter, and then they ended up only losing by 8 or something. It was it ended up being a great game. It wasn't
Yeah.
for a long time.
And you see them recover the onsides kick, score another
Yeah,
touchdown. You're like, are
exactly.
they going to score 3 touchdowns in
no
3
way.
minutes?
Yeah.
Like what?
And it's Goff too. And TJ, like, who are their weapons? TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, and Tyrell Williams. I don't even know what Tyrell did in that game, but TJ Hawkinson had a great game.
And Debo Samuel, I mean, looking unbelievable for San
Yes.
Francisco. San
Yes.
Francisco looked every bit as advertised until those last 5-6
They did.
minutes. They should be back in the conversation, man. That division is crazy tough. Rams, Niners, Seahawks, Cardinals, man. That is a stacked division.
I know if the
It really is.
49ers didn't let off the gas pedal, they would have looked like world beaters.
Without a doubt, man. And probably the biggest game of the week. I shouldn't say probably, it was the Chiefs, man. They come back on those Browns, man. And you see Mahomes in that fourth quarter, those 2 quick touchdowns, man. Tyreek Hill, 75 yards. Oh, man. It just was like perfect Mahomes madness in that game, man. You knew what was happening when Mahomes got the ball. It was like when Brady got the ball with a minute and a half left. You know he's getting them down the field. You give Mahomes the ball in the fourth quarter, it's like, all right, all bets are off, man. 14 points just like that. It's crazy.
I will say, I at halftime I knew the Chiefs were gonna win that game.
Right.
I put a bet. The Chiefs were obviously like huge favorites going in. Like I don't know what the line was, but they were huge favorites going into the game. And then at halftime they ended up being like plus 175. Like they were underdogs. And I put a bet down on the Chiefs to win just straight up. And I was like, this is surefire money. I was like, there's no way the Chiefs lose this game. And sure enough, they came back and won. Yeah, Mahomes,
picks, man, we got to start it because
Mahomes he knows how to make it look easy. It's crazy. Mahomes is unbelievable.
I like how they like brought up the meme of like, F it, just throw it down there. And they asked Mahomes and he's like, sometimes it's how it is with Tyreek. You just
Tyreek's down there somewhere. Yeah.
It,
Even McCole Hardman, he's got speed. Kelsey's the big target. He's down there somewhere. So he might haul it in. Yeah. Regardless of losing Sammy Watkins, they got no shortage of options.
And man, Pat, I will say I think Joe and I's MVP pick looks a little bit better than yours to start the season because Mahomes is at the top of the list on that MVP conversation.
I know Rodgers, like after week 1, that's already hard to come back from. And it really is. And the MVP chase these days, you need a game like Mahomes to start the year. Not Rodgers is going to have an unbelievable next 16 games.
Yeah.
He's going to have an unbelievable 16 games.
Yeah, 115 or 140 yards, no touchdowns and a pick is a tough place to start, man. But
not good.
But man, the Steelers in Buffalo, man, beating the Bills. One of the big surprises of the week, if you ask me, man. And this had me thinking, are we underrating Pittsburgh or are we overrating Buffalo? Is it a mix, man? Because I got to tell you, I look at Pittsburgh, that defense looks great, even though Ben Roethlisberger on offense looks like he's 100 years old. Somehow he's still throwing some nice wheel routes. He's looking okay. But man, the offensive talent looks a little bit minimal in Buffalo outside of Allen and Diggs. And that's my concern for them, which I kind of feel like maybe we're overrating them a little bit after last season.
I would agree with you, Chandler. I really do. I didn't expect to agree with you there, at least before week 1. But after what we saw last week, I know the Steelers defense is really good. They just paid TJ Watt, so they got him back. He's in full effect. Minka Fitzpatrick. I mean, the Steelers defense is really good. And they were down. The Bills were up, but the Steelers came back. And yeah, we might be overrating Buffalo. I got to say, in Buffalo, I never expected the Bills to lose that game, regardless of how good the Steelers actually are. I know the Steelers are very good. We got to give them their credit.
Yep.
But yeah, we may have overrated the Bills along with everyone. I mean, it's, that may be a jump to a conclusion after just one game. We'll see after week 2 if our opinions are a little more validated. it really depends how they perform in their next game. I don't know who they're playing next week, but we might be overrating Buffalo.
Man, when you're up 10-0 at halftime and you let up 23 points to 3 in the second half, it's pretty tough. And,
Yeah, the Bills defense looked unbelievable for a while. And they do have a good defense, but you're right. The offensive side of the ball. I mean, outside of Stephon Diggs, we have Cole Beasley, and then who their running back these days. I can't even
Singletary.
Yeah, Singletary.
Man, it's tough, and it'll definitely be interesting to keep an eye on both of those teams because one of them is trending in a direction we didn't think they would be, and same the other side of the ball. Bills not looking great, Steelers looking better than expected now. Team that looked a lot better than expected. Both of us got these picks wrong, Pat, man. The Texans, they put up 37 points on the Jags. Trevor Lawrence had his moments, did not look amazing. But, man, Texans 37 points, just shocking the league.
Yeah, and I said it was bad. If we're not taking the Texans even in this game against the Jaguars, that's really bad. So, the Texans putting up 37 points, I was shocked. I was shocked that they did that. I was surprised that they won, but yeah, they put it on the Jaguars. I was surprised by that, but good on them. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but I was very surprised.
Very surprised, and I'll throw this in there too. Trevor Lawrence, first regular season loss of his football career. High school, college, never lost to the playoffs. Dude, that's pretty nuts. That's pretty nuts. Trevor's been pretty
weird
good.
Weird way to lose your first regular season game. Very strange.
Yeah, man. It just shows you with all these rookie quarterbacks, it's going to take a while before they change that franchise and before the franchise gets built around them because Jags have a lot left to do when they're losing to the team that's ranked 32 in the league,
Yeah. It's funny when you look at the Texans offense and you're like, where did these 37 points come from? Like, who scored these? That's a lot of points for an offense that has no, huge names. I mean, Brandon Cooks, Tyrod Taylor, but
Mark Ingram, those three are not big names.
No.
All right, man. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase looking solid. Jamar didn't have the drops everyone expected.
No, I was impressed with the Bengals. I was impressed.
And I got to tell you, no one thought they would beat the Vikings, man. All the panelists, both you and I picked the Vikings, man. Bengals looking a lot better than we expected. That LSU connection looks like it's there, Pat.
Yeah, Joey B he's looking real solid. And I'm excited for the Bengals. I know I said, like, if in the AFC North, if the Bengals are good, it's a problem because we have 4 really good teams then. So the AFC North is looking tough. And I still am happy for Joe Burrow, though. Coming back from the injury, it feels good. Got to feel good to come in first game and get a win in a game that not many people expected you to win.
And another game, too, man. I mean, these Eagles just absolutely routing Atlanta, which Bird Gang I did not expect to win, man.
I definitely picked the Eagles, yeah.
And you called it for your brothers too, man. But Hurts looked fantastic. The Falcons looked absolutely terrible, man. That was another big shock.
Yeah, I think that was – the Eagles did look very good, but I think part of it was also the Falcons being really bad. Russell Gage, I think he had 2 targets. I think he had a drop as well. Didn't get any receptions. Calvin Ridley had an underwhelming game.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts, underwhelming game. Really, Matt Ryan, underwhelming game. The Falcons offense as a whole. And with a team like the Falcons, I mean, we've said on this podcast, their defense is their biggest liability. And their offense is really good. So if the offense isn't working, it's a real problem. With the Texans putting up 37 points, if the Falcons offense looks like that, you're gonna have a new number 32 team in the league because they can't continue that pace. I really hope they don't, for the sake of Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts in fantasy, but it was not good for Atlanta.
We're just gonna blame that on some week 1 jitters, and
I hope
that
so.
Atlanta figures it out because that was ugly.
That's what I hope. I am hoping. Good for the Eagles, though.
One of the shocks of the week, without a doubt, man.
It was. That was one of the more shocking score lines, that and the Saints Packers.
Now, Pat, out of 16 games picked, man, you killed me this week. You went 9-7 in your picks. I went 6-10. 6-10 for me, dude. So not a hot start, but I'm feeling good about these week 2 picks. We're gonna try to even it out a little bit here. We'll give that update next week, but we got to dive into these picks, man. And the Thursday night game that no one asked for, the New York Giants at the Washington football team, Pat. Who we got for picks in this game?
Oh, I don't know if Fitzpatrick's gonna play. Wasn't he hurt? I don't know what the Giants.
He's out for the year.
Oh, okay. There you go. He's
Yeah.
definitely not going to play then. There's so many football teams to keep track of. The Giants did not look good.
No.
God, this is tough. It's really tough for me because I picked Terry McLaurin because Fitzpatrick was in
Yeah.
Washington. And I was like, oh, he's gonna sling the ball. Well, that's not happening anymore. I think the Giants have a bounce back game. I like the Giants here. I'll take the Giants. Daniel Jones, he looked really bad. The Giants in general did, but I like the Giants here.
This has Cam Newton written all over it, if you ask me. I feel like
agree.
he's the fill-in, run heavy offense, man. I don't trust Heineke, even though he looked okay. I'm gonna go Washington football. It's another home game. It's 2 home games to start the year, and I just feel like this defense is so solid. The Giants looked so bad that
It was bad.
Like Washington without Fitzpatrick, I still think can get it done, especially at home. So I'm gonna go Washington football team there. Pats at Jets in the second matchup. I'll let you start off there since you picked the Pats game right last week.
Ew, we got the rookie QBs facing each other. They are at the Jets, but I will take New England in this game. I do like the Patriots. They look decent against a tough Dolphins team. They look decent, and trying to get the unit together with a new quarterback. Cam Newton just left. Now they got Mac Jones. I'll take the Patriots. They're going to get more acclimated. I think the Pats are going to be a team that just gets better as they go this season.
That's how the Pats normally work, and that's why I'm going to go with them too. Also, Belichick has an amazing track record against rookie quarterbacks and young quarterbacks. Like Tua is not the reason that the Dolphins won that game.
No.
And I think that Zach Wilson will be halted as well. So for that reason, I'm definitely going to go with the Pats. Now, Broncos at Jags for our third matchup there, man. I'm going to go Denver. Teddy Bridgewater looks pretty decent, man. He had a good speech to start off the game. Von Miller said, I haven't felt that in a huddle since 18 was here. You're not going to try to compare Teddy Bridgewater to Peyton Manning, man, but I like Teddy. I like what they're building there. So I'm a rock with Denver in this game.
I'm also going to pick Denver. Yeah, from the highlights from that game, the conversation with Von Miller, just the Jaguars losing to the Texans. I mean, their defense did not look good. Even if the Jaguars put up 30 points, I just don't see their defense keeping that pace. So I'm going to go with the Broncos.
It's crazy, man. 5 years ago, the Jaguars had maybe the best defense in the league. Calais Campbell, Paul Posluszny, Telvin Smith. You signed
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, dude. And then you had AJ Bouye and Jalen Ramsey. Like you had 2 of the best. That's crazy. How falling apart. Is falling.
I know, it's crazy.
2 Denver picks there, though, man. Bills at Miami, man. Is there any way the Dolphins win this game?
In Miami, I tell you what, I'm gonna take Miami. If we're talking about maybe we overrated the Bills, I gotta stick to my guns. I'll go Miami. Even though I think we both picked Buffalo to win this division. I'm gonna go Miami here.
Dude, like part of me wants to pick Miami, but I just can't do it. I just can't
conscience,
do it.
Yeah, it's a tough pick.
I want to.
I'm taking the risk, but I'll go Miami.
I'm gonna go with a second week of picking Buffalo against a good defense, and I'm gonna hope that they do it right.
Give them another chance.
But after this, man, whoever they're playing in week 3, if they lose to the Dolphins and the Steelers back to back, I'm going with whoever the Bills are playing.
We're fading the Bills after that 0-2.
49ers Eagles, Pat.
This is a great matchup because
it is.
Both teams look really good. Obviously, the 49ers have the tough ending against Detroit. I'll go Niners here. I think they're gonna correct some of those mistakes from last week. They're not gonna make the mistake of taking their foot off the gas pedal. Jimmy G looked really good. Obviously the George Kittle fumble on the onside kick made that Detroit game a lot closer than it should have been. So I'll take the Niners here. And if Ayuk actually plays, he was not even a factor. He was really a non-factor. So if they have Debo and Ayuk out wide, then I like the Niners.
Yeah, Ayuk's going to be a huge addition to this offense. I'm going to go with the Niners. I think that this defense is worlds better than the Falcons defense. I don't think Hurts is putting up 30 points against the 49ers. And I think that they just have a much better roster on both sides of the ball. So I'm definitely rocking with the Niners there. Mm-hmm. Rams visiting Indianapolis, Pat. Rams at Colts.
With how good the Rams looked, I gotta ride with them for this week. I think I picked them last week too. I think I did. Yeah. Yep. So I'll ride with them again. They didn't do me anything wrong last week. They definitely outperformed my expectations. So I'll ride with them as well.
if the Seahawks beat the Colts by 2 scores, I think that the Rams beat the Colts by 3 scores. That's how I'm looking at this. I think that this is a shoe-in game for the Rams. I don't think the Colts have enough, man. I really don't. So I'm definitely rocking with the Rams there.
Yeah, not looking like the complete package right now.
No, they
We're
are
on the
not.
same page.
Now the Las Vegas Raiders, the 1-0, beat the Baltimore Ravens. Las Vegas Raiders taking on another NFC or AFC North division opponent.
Unnecessary. But
Hey, had to take the shot, man. Playing the Steelers, man. You think the Steelers are going to avenge the Ravens here? Protect their AFC North brethren over there?
I tell you what, the Steelers beat the Bills in Buffalo last week, and as good as the Raiders did end up looking against the Ravens, I gotta take the Steelers here. I mean, at home, they looked good against Buffalo. There's no reason for me to not pick against the Steelers or to not pick the Steelers this week.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but something's telling me to pick the Raiders. I don't know why. Like, I shouldn't. They shouldn't have won that game. The Steelers looked like their defense was awesome. Like, nothing, but for whatever reason, I'm picking the Raiders, Pat. I like Derek Carr, man. Like every season, I'm believing in this guy more than I should. So I'm gonna rock with the Raiders, man. Carry that high into Heinz Field, man, and beat the Steelers.
I almost picked the Raiders. I will say they impressed me. I almost picked them.
They looked pretty decent. They shouldn't have won that game, but who knows what's going to happen in Pittsburgh. Bengals at Chicago, man. It's kind of weird. But I'm going to go with the Bengals, man. There's just no part of if Andy Dalton's starting week 2 that makes me think that he's going to go win games against a competent team,
Yeah, that was my thought process too. I was like, I want to pick the Bears because I want to say that Justin Fields will start. But if they start Dalton, I don't like the Bears at all. So just on the off chance they do start Dalton, I'll go with the Bengals as well.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I like that connection. I think Jamar Chase is going to be starting at the flex for me this week in fantasy. Maybe not even flex. He might be taking Julio Jones's job because Julio was a non-factor in Tennessee. Man, I don't know. I'm definitely going with the Bengals there. Houston at Browns for the next matchup. This game might have 80 points, Pat. This game might have 80
apparently,
points.
Right? Apparently, because the Browns D, as good as they've improved, or as much as they've improved, they did not look good against Kansas City, which obviously I don't think many defenses are going to look good against Kansas City, but I still got to go with the Browns here. The Texans did impress me, but I don't know. It might be a fluke win. The fact that the Jaguars don't have a good defense, I don't think they're going to stand up too well against the Browns in Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely going Browns, but part of me feels like it's worth throwing $10 on the Texans on this game. Because
probably a good value bet. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be a huge underdog.
Maybe like plus 200 or something. So it's not a bad value bet.
Yeah, I may throw $10 on that one, man. I don't know, but I'm definitely picking the Browns, even though they're 0-1. Saints at Carolina, man. I am just riding the Jameis train, man. I'm going Saints all day, and I feel like Jameis is going to have a sneaky good, not even sneaky. I think he's going to have a great season. Mm-hmm. I really do. I don't it's unbelievable. Sean Payton's doing something great there.
Yeah, he certainly is already putting it, he already put it together in week 1. I mean, he learned, he was already good, but he learned under Drew Brees for an entire year. And even though he didn't really play, I'm sure he learned a lot in that time, maybe to a better game management, maybe how to throw less interceptions than he was before, being a little more selective when he takes his shots downfield. So I will take the Saints in this one as well.
Minnesota at Arizona, Pat. I don't know if we mentioned it. Arizona throttled Tennessee in what I thought was going to be a much closer game. And yeah, I'm riding with the Cardinals, man. They looked awesome. They looked fantastic.
Yeah, the Vikings lost in Cincinnati, so I'm right there with you. I'm going with the Cardinals too.
All right. I like that, man. I like that. Now we got Falcons at Bucks. Is there much of a conversation there?
No, we can almost brush by this one. Like I said, I mean, if the Falcons offense looks like they did, they're certainly not going to stand up to the Bucks defense, which is very good. And the Cowboys had a very good offensive showing to make the Bucks defense look like they did and score, 29 points. I will ride with the Bucks.
I also think that there's a chance Brady may be on the better end of 28-3 in this game. Like I think they may be up 28-3 at halftime on the
Mhm.
Falcons. I think there's a legit chance, which is kind of sad. Tennessee at Seattle, Pat. I
I
did last week I would have picked this game pretty close, but
Yeah.
after the Tennessee showing, it's tough.
And this is the thing, Seattle's such a tough place to play as it
Yeah.
is. And Seattle did look very good against the Colts. Russell Wilson looked good. Tyler Lockett, great. Then you got DK Metcalf, obviously. I think, yeah, after the showing, I wanted to go with the Titans just in the off chance they'd bounce back. But I think Derrick Henry will bounce back. But Seattle, it's Seattle this week for me.
I want to pick Seattle, but I'm going to be stubborn and stick with my boy Mike Vrabel and the Titans. I can't fathom that is their performance. I also think the Cardinals are better than the Seahawks. And even though it was like a 28-point win or something, I feel like this will be a much closer game. I'm going to go with Tennessee in a very close game, like 24-21, 21-17. Like it's going to be close, but I'm a rock with Tennessee because I just can't believe that they'll be that bad 2 weeks in a row.
I think it'll be close.
Happen.
Yeah, I think it'll be close too. And I think they will bounce back. Like, like you said, close game. I think they will bounce back, but I still see Seattle getting the edge.
Yep. Dallas at the Chargers, man. My two quarterbacks facing off against each other. I don't know who to start because I feel like Herbert's going to put up more points in this game. The Chargers have a better defense, but who we got in this game, man? Dallas at the Chargers.
I'm going to continue with my Chargers pick. I picked, that I was faithful in the head coach before the season started. Yep. I liked how they looked last week. I'm going to, for the sake of my buddy too, who's a big Chargers fan. I'm going to ride bolt gang or don't bang. It's Chargers this week.
I like that, man. I'm going to rock with the Chargers as well. You know what I've said about the Chargers all year. You know, my defensive player of the year pick, Derwin James, was the number 1 rated defender after the week 1 of football by Pro Football Focus. He had a great game. You know, Nick Bosa's back there, man. They have so many fantastic players on both sides of the ball, and I think they're going to keep figuring it out. I'm going to go Chargers, but I'm going to go in a tight game, but a lot of points, like 31-28, 34-31. I don't know how much defense there's going to be. I think it's going to be a fun game, a lot of points, but I'm a rock with the Chargers at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Now, Pat, Kansas City at Baltimore.
And the question is, do I pick the Ravens 17 times? I am going to go with the Ravens this week. It was a rough showing. It was a bad loss, but I'm not going to lose the faith quite yet in the flock. We're at home. We're at the bank. I like that. I like that our fans will be there in support. I think John Harbaugh is going to make adjustments, and it is tough to make adjustments for Kansas City, but I think we're going to do it. I think we'll be much tighter on our O-line, and our defense is consistent. I think our defense will be decent against an offense that's obviously tough to limit, as I said, just a few minutes ago. I will take the Ravens.
I'm probably going to pick the Patriots 17 times, so it only makes sense that you pick the Ravens 17 times. But man, I got to go with Kansas City.
I would imagine.
I've already made fun of the Ravens enough this episode. I'm not going to pile on anymore. I'm just going to leave it at if anyone's listening to this podcast, they know why I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs. It's pretty clear. So
it's tough to pick against the Chiefs, but in this situation, it's probably the 1 week where I do have to pick against them.
And now, Pat, I said the Thursday night game that no one asked for between Washington and the Giants. Now the Monday night game that no one asked for, Lions at Lambeau taking on the Packers, 2 0-1 teams. Can we do it, Pat? Can we pick the Lions? Can we do it?
You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'll go with the Lions. I'll go with the Lions going into Lambeau. I think the Packers will come back much better than they were. I mean, I don't think that's going to be a sign of what's to come for the Packers in this season. I do think they'll bounce back, but just on the off chance, I like the wild card pick here. I'm going to go with the Lions.
I guess if Jameis Winston can outscore Rodgers by 35 points, there's no reason Jared Goff can't.
There's no reason. There's no reason.
Pat, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. You almost lured me in, but I'm going with the Packers. I can't pick the Lions.
Yeah.
Crazy end to the game. Like they had no business being in that game.
No business. No, it was a lot closer than it should have been. But I also knew you would pick the Packers, so I was like, I'll get some variation.
I'm going with the same as my Buffalo pick. Like, they can't be this bad 2 weeks in a row. That's what I'm
Yeah,
going with for the Packers. So I'm gonna pick the Packers there.
I like it.
All right, we'll keep everyone updated on those picks next week. But now we're gonna run through some listener questions before we wrap the show up with a quick ad and what we've learned. But Pat, first listener question, Brett asking me, man, how's recovery from the triathlon going? Totally fine, man. I felt good. I don't want to brag, but I did beat Brett. I did beat Rachel, so I beat my two competitors, and I was definitely feeling the best. I wasn't nauseous or anything like they were at the end of the race. I felt good, so I'm feeling good, man. I've been working out. Sean and I went and played soccer for 2 hours last night, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good after the try, man. No complaints.
God forbid it was one of those beer ones where you have like a beer in between sessions. Then you might be a little nauseous.
Trying to get a couple of my coworkers to do a beer mile with me, dude.
That would be fun.
One lap of the track beer, one lap's a quarter mile. Just throw back.
I think I'd throw up, but I would do it just to say I did it. It'd be fun.
Why not, man? Why not? Another one from Brett. Should Marcus Smart be the starting point guard over Dennis Schroeder, Pat?
Yes, at least at first. Just 'cause I like the veteran presence. I like his physicality. I like what he brings to the Celtics. He's just a good teammate. He's a good leader. So he's just got so many qualities that we look for in a Celtics player. And I would definitely put him out there. I think it would be a little bit disrespectful to immediately put Schroeder in as the starter. Let Marcus Smart play, see how he does for at least, maybe the first like 10 games. If it's not going well, test it out, start to give Schroeder more minutes. But at least at first, I would say Smart.
I echo every sentiment you just said. Plus, I would like to have the guy that's locked up for the next 5 years starting,
That too,
not
yeah.
the guy
We
on
did
a
just pay him.
1-year flyer 5.9 mil. So give it to the guy that's locked in. Make Dennis Schroeder earn those minutes. That's definitely where I sit.
Yeah, we did just pay the man, so we might as well use him.
And a third one from Brett, pure boxing, Jake Paul versus the Mountain. I'm not going to pretend to say
Half
Thor.
It's
Thor?
half Thor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's half Thor.
Half Thor Bjornsson, man. I mean, I got to pick the 6'9", 400-pound Mr. Universe, I don't think it would be hard for him to hit Jake Paul, but anything Jake Paul lands, there's zero power behind it for a guy like Half Thor,
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Half Thor was supposed to box. I don't know whatever happened to that. I'm going to have to, do a quick look up here, but he was supposed to box.
He had a celebrity fight in the books.
Yeah. He was supposed to box another
strongman.
Yeah. Another strongman guy. They were both kind of getting into boxing. I don't think they were either boxers really. If Bjorn, I don't know. It's tough because I like the speed and agility and precision. Jake Paul's not going to get any knockouts. That's not going to happen. But in a decision, I would say Jake Paul could win. Footwork, poke him from the outside, just get some jabs in. It's going to be tough for Bjornsson to hit him. It'd be tough. If he connects, it's a problem.
This would legitimately look like Oberyn versus the Mountain. Like this would look like the Game of Thrones fight because the size difference would be so extreme.
Here you go. September 18th, 2021. World's Strongest Man champion, Half Thor, the Mountain Bjornsson versus Devin No Limits Larratt or Larratt. So that is a fight card in Dubai.
So he's fighting in 3 days.
Yeah,
2 days.
Great timing. Great timing for this question. I don't know if this person knew that this fight was happening. I honestly did not know that it was coming up. But you can watch it for $10 on pay-per-view. September 18th, I believe. That's this Saturday.
That might be worth $10.
I tell you what, I might be tuning in. There's UFC fights, but I could definitely go back and forth. I might need to see him fight.
Might have to check that out, man.
I'm happy it's so soon. I can't believe it. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, right when you said the 18th, I was like, oh shoot.
I was like, wait, that's like in a few days.
Final answer, Pat. I'm going Mountain. Who you going?
Jake Paul.
Oh,
pure boxing.
Man. Well, we'll have some more tape to watch on next week's episode.
Exactly. I could reassess maybe.
Question from my brother Nick: who flopped more this week, the Bills or the Titans?
Ooh, I'll say the Titans because at least the Bills were in a very, it was a tight game. They didn't get blown out, and it was against a very good Steelers team.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Titans had a lot of expectations. And I would say just based on expectations alone, I mean, the Titans were not supposed to go out there and get smoked like that. Yeah. So I'll say the Titans flopped.
Bills were up 10 at the half, a 10-0.
And
And the
Good
Titans
point.
were never part of the game. So I'm going definitely the Titans had a worse week one for me.
It is a flop to blow the lead though, so I was
Yeah.
almost thinking that was your point, but
That is true, but I'm definitely going Titans there because they weren't even part of the game in my opinion,
yeah,
which is
I agree.
sad to see.
Yep.
Kevin David, Aaron Rodgers retiring after this poor Sunday performance. No, Kevin, stop it.
I don't see him. It's funny. Yeah, people were like, "Oh, maybe he should have stayed." The Jeopardy host. No, he was the MVP last year. Let's relax. It was one game. He maybe spent a little bit too much time in Hawaii, not just away from the team. But I would say he'll get reacclimated, and I don't think that's going to be a common theme this season for the Packers. Yeah. I'm starting to second guess my MVP choice. Don't get me wrong there, but I don't think he retires. No.
Yeah. All right. Biggest sleeper or dark horse to win the Super Bowl this year in the NFL? Question from V. Carter Wood.
See, that's a good question. That is a tough one.
Now, I picked them to win the division, Pat, but I think the Cardinals are a little bit of a dark horse, man. I feel like they have the firepower on offense.
I like that.
Chandler Jones, 5 sacks in the first week of the NFL, man. It's pretty crazy. So I'm going to throw the Cardinals out there as one dark horse to win the Super Bowl this year. And outside of that, I feel like a lot of people expect the Rams have been in that conversation. The Bucks and Chiefs are in that conversation. So in terms of a dark horse, the Cardinals are the only one that really haven't been part of that conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out on a bold limb and say the New Orleans Saints as well, because there's firepower, man. And if you're scoring 38 points while holding an elite quarterback to 3 points, there, where there's smoke, there's fire, man. So in terms of dark horses, Cardinals and Saints for me.
I like that. And I was going to say, I don't know how much of a dark horse the Rams would be. I feel like you're right. They have kind of been in that conversation. So the Rams would be in there for me, but they're not really. You think of a dark horse, they're a real outside shot at winning, but they look good and they have the capabilities of doing it. Based on that criteria, I will go with the Chargers. Because they're in a tough division, but they have all the capabilities of doing it. They have a team that could potentially get there. Obviously, there's a lot of obstacles in the way of that, like, the Chiefs in their own division and even the Raiders looking good. But if we're talking about a real outside shot for someone that had the potential to do it, Chargers.
I like that, man. I absolutely like that pick. Now, last question. Now, Pat, I don't know if you know what both these are, man. You probably do, but from my brother Chris, a growler bear versus a liger. A growler bear is the rare offspring of a grizzly bear and a polar bear. Okay. And the liger is a lion and a tiger.
Yep.
I don't know which one's the male parent, which one's the female parent. It's some specific pairing, but growler bear versus liger, Pat. As far as I know, I feel like ligers have a lot of health issues. I feel like it's not like one of those healthy breeds.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of them. So the fact that you got part polar bear, part grizzly bear, I'm going to rock with that, man, because that sounds vicious. That sounds like it's got some serious instincts. And a liger doesn't sound like it's supposed to be a thing.
Yeah. Liger feels like some weird, mad scientist gene splicing that's going on, not just Napoleon Dynamite. Polar bears are really, they're not super aggressive, I don't think, but they're really, if they feel endangered, they are vicious. And grizzly bears have the size, so I would imagine those two. Actually, come to think of it, polar bears are big too. Obviously, I think grizzly bears are bigger, but those two combined, that is a deadly combination. So I think we're both going with a growler bear, which I will say I've never heard of.
You got to look up pictures, man. They look kind of funny. They do.
I will have to.
It's a bear you've never seen before. They do look a little funky.
Are they white?
They kind of got a cream color going on.
They look cool. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Right. They're kind of.
I wish I could show a picture, but
right?
No, they look nice.
Once we get the production crew going on right off the bus, we'll be able to, man. But that's it for listener questions. We got 2 growler picks there, man. And before we get on to what we've learned, as always, we got to get an ad in for Book Thinkers. So do you read personal development books? If so, you should check out Book Thinkers, a company that's dedicated to helping you fulfill your life through books. every single day on their Instagram and every week on their podcast. The team over there at Book Thinkers helps you discover new books and new mentors that you can use to achieve more and live better. And you guys know, but the right book can absolutely change your life if you read it at the right time. So please head on over to bookthinkers.com or go over to Instagram and search Book Thinkers to learn more about this team, this mission, this journey that they're on. It's very exciting. But Pat, now it's time to get on to what we've learned. So what did you learn? Looks like you're sticking to NFL this week. I like it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of NFL what we've learned in the next couple weeks.
I know. Not so outside the box or creative, but you've heard me talk about the AFC North on this podcast, I would say many times, dating all the way back to the start of it when we started during football last year. But I wouldn't have thought after week one, I believe we gave predictions too of how this division would turn out, of how every division would turn out. I did not expect after week one that the Steelers and Bengals would be 1-0 at the top and the Ravens and Browns would be 0-1. Obviously, the Browns played Kansas City. Maybe I could have seen them being 0-1, but the Bengals beating the Vikings, did not see that one coming. Steelers beating the Bills in Buffalo, shocking. Ravens losing to the Raiders, very tough.
Yeah.
It just did not shake out the way I thought it would in the first week. I'm interested to see how next week will go down, obviously how it'll turn out in the long run. I'm a little bit nervous about my Ravens. I'm high on the Bengals. I feel good about the Bengals. Browns will probably bounce back. They played well. It's tough. It's tough with Kansas City. I mean, Mahomes leads those comebacks. He's very good, obviously, and he's on track for another MVP season already. Yeah, I just did not see the AFC North shaking out this way to start the year at all.
Yeah, definitely a big surprise, man. And for what I've learned, not what we've learned, Pat, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here, man. And Nate Burleson said this on Good Morning Football weeks ago, before he left. I think he's at like CNN or ABC or something now. Miss watching him on Good Morning Football, but Jameis Winston is a dark horse MVP candidate. Like Jameis Winston is going to finish top 10 in MVP voting and maybe higher. Like,
I like it.
I'm telling you, man, Sean Payton is a quarterback whisperer, dude. He got LASIK eye surgery since he threw those 30 touchdowns and 30 picks. He just sat behind one of the best ever. He has plenty of weapons, and his best weapon isn't even playing, man. And when you can go out and put 38 points up in your first game, that is a statement. He has to have all the confidence in the world. The locker room, the coaches, the staff has to be behind him. And I'll tell you, especially with everything that the state of Louisiana is going through with all the hurricanes and the power and everything, there is something to rally around right now. And it's Jameis Winston, man. And I can't believe I'm saying it. Jameis Winston, legit MVP candidate. That's what I learned this weekend. I know it's a hot
I
take,
like it.
man,
No, I like it. And
dude,
playing loose with minimal expectations, even if they start the season 6-0, I still think the expectations are not high because he's at that point, if they're 6-0, he's already surpassed them. And Saints fans got to be feeling good about that.
No one has bigger ideas and bigger expectations for Jameis Winston than Jameis Winston. Like, I mean, no one expects this guy to go out and win 11, 12, 13 games. He might, man. And like you said, low expectations, playing fast and loose. Jameis Winston, legit MVP candidate for this season, man. That's what I learned in week one, which I'm shocked I'm saying to say.
And
the least.
it's funny because not as hot as a take as we would have said, 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Still a hot take, but not nearly as hot.
But after throwing 5 touchdowns, man, looking good. But
he did look sharp.
Pat, as always, man, that wraps up episode number 38, man. Obviously, NFL dominates it. That's what's going to be dominating this podcast for the next few months for sure, man. But it was a lot of fun. As always, we hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, man. It's always fun. We're smiling, laughing, enjoying doing this the whole time, just shooting the shit and talking sports. It's what we like to do, man. And just say thank you for anything you can do for this podcast, whether it's a like, a subscription, a comment, a share, a save, man. You can do anything on any platform. I've said it before, press any button. I'm sure it can somehow benefit us in some way, add to that algorithm.
Absolutely.
So we thank you guys for all that interaction, man. I'm gonna be posting every day again on the socials. So please check them out at Right Off the Bus on everything other than Twitter. But we don't take your time for granted at all. Thank you for listening, man. And that's episode 38, Pat, man. How we feeling? We feeling good ending this one?
Yeah. And thank you for bearing with us for another Thursday edition. We will be back Wednesday next week for our usual programming. But Thursday edition this week. We'll be back Wednesday.
I like it, man. And that's episode 38. We appreciate y'all listening. Peace out.
See you guys.
You are listening to Right Off the Bus.